Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, student of all things Hollywood and pop culture. And today we're going to be talking about the new trailer for the Witcher 4 video game coming out of CD Projekt Red. Now, I, for one, was immensely surprised when this trailer dropped at the Game Awards. I wasn't expecting anything from The Witcher 4 for several years. CD Projekt Red, with its recent slate of games, including The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077, isn't exactly known for swiftness in its development process. Cyberpunk alone was in development for 8 to 10 years. That definitely led to the conclusion in my mind that we wouldn't be seeing anything Witcher 4 for another year or two. The fact that we're already getting cinematic trailers for The Witcher 4 can lend itself in both directions. It can either suggest, hey, CD Projekt Red is turning around, they're dedicated to being a little bit more efficient and getting out games quicker than they have in the past. It could also mean that they're not spending as much time on it, and there won't be the breadth and depth to The Witcher 4 that The Witcher 3 had, which is one of the main reasons that people love that game so much. It was such a real, deep, and immersive world that isn't going to be possible if they shorten their production too much. I lean more towards the latter of those two options. I've definitely grown cynical in recent years with most Hollywood studios and video game studios. CD Projekt Red, especially in its current form, isn't something that inspires a lot of hope in me. They've focused so harshly on political correctness and other things of that variety that I don't believe that they're capable of creating a good game at this point. We'll have to wait and see. There are concerning things about the cinematic trailer, so let's dive into it. Now, the trailer starts with this shot of a young woman bathing before a ritualistic ceremony. My first thought when I saw this is that the game was going to be recreating the iconic bath scene with Geralt using Ciri instead, because yes, Ciri is the main character of The Witcher 4. A lot of people have known that for a while. Some people were surprised by it who hadn't been following the news, but it was the most logical choice. For those who played The Witcher 3, Geralt's story was over. It doesn't make sense for him to be the protagonist. Should they perhaps have gone in a brand new direction with new characters? Possibly, but if you're continuing the story of The Witcher 3, Ciri as the protagonist makes the most sense. She is a great character from the video games and the books. There's no Netflix show. She's actually my favorite Witcher character. Seeing her evolution from spoiled child in the early Witcher books to the hardened warrior that we see in The Witcher 3 is a great evolution that's well justified and isn't Mary Sue-ish. She is put on her back foot quite a lot in the books. She doesn't win every circumstance that she's in, and she pushes through regardless, and it's earned her fighting capability that we see in The Witcher 3. Now, this isn't the Ciri we know and love. She's definitely much older, a lot more mature, and she doesn't have the playfulness and the general charm, at least so far, that the Ciri from the video games had. So I'm a little bit concerned about Ciri's portrayal. They might be going into she's just a generic female Geralt. That is not a direction that will work for them. Ciri is a great character that needs to be left as she is. Everyone who's saying, hey, we should have just had Geralt will be 100% justified if they make her into a generic female Geralt clone. That won't work. But going back to this shot here, I was quite surprised to see a bathing scene of a woman for one simple reason. Like I mentioned, CD Projekt Red is in an interesting point right now where I believed that its political correctness would drive it to minimize the female nudity and the sexual content from their universe. The Witcher is a very mature franchise. From the very opening of the first short story of The Last Wish, Geralt was in bed with a naked woman. Sexuality and nudity is a massive part of this franchise, so they might be suggesting that they're going to be continuing on those mature things in The Witcher 4. I see that as a good thing. Alternately, it could be a bait and switch saying, hey, we know you like this stuff, but we can't do it anymore because that's bad. So we'll give it to you to get your money and then give you the game that you didn't know you needed that was free of that type of content. If it's not a bait and switch, this is a good sign for The Witcher 4. Now, this is the woman we saw bathing just a moment ago, and she has been chosen as a ritualistic sacrifice by this village to some unknown monster who's posing as their god. This reminds me of a very specific side quest from The Witcher 3 in the Heart of the Woods, where we see a similar situation with Geralt having to protect a village from a Leshen who's latched its soul onto a local girl to the point where if she is nearby or alive, the Leshen cannot be killed. But I definitely saw a lot of similarities between this cinematic trailer and that side quest and other side quests of The Witcher 3. Anyone in the comments down below, if you can think of any other side quests from The Witcher 3 or stories from The Witcher 3 that this reminds you of, please absolutely let me know, because this trailer is designed to remind you of The Witcher 3. It is designed to stir up that nostalgia in you and hopefully transpose your love for The Witcher 3 onto The Witcher 4. that is absolutely a problem. If it can't stand on its own with its own content, if it can't continue on what The Witcher 3 did with Ciri and showing Ciri as Ciri, not as female Geralt, this game is never going to succeed. There's too much nostalgia to really say what the content of Witcher 4 is. Now is when we get our first look at Ciri in this trailer. Now, overall in this trailer, this isn't the Ciri that we know and love. Yes, she's more mature. Yes, she's older. But Ciri is supposed to be a much more playful, a lot more heartfelt character than we see portrayed here. This is just generic female Geralt. From her costume being very reminiscent of Geralt's to her hair. Her hair is too white. She doesn't have white hair like Geralt does. She has very light blonde, but they don't have the same hair. Definitely wants you to think, oh yeah, she's female Geralt. And her hairstyle even is supposed to remind you of Cassandra from Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which was originally a ripoff of The Witcher 3. So the ripoff of Witcher 3 is inspiring The Witcher 4, not exactly inspiring the audience to think that this is going to be a good game. So overall, nothing about this speaks Ciri to me besides the scar over her eyes. Now that we're mentioning her eyes, however, those are Witcher eyes. That is the biggest lore break of this trailer. Ciri cannot go through the Trial of the Grasses. There was a conversation in the books about her going through the Trial of the Grasses, but at that point, they were very much against doing it, and she wouldn't have survived. No woman, no female has ever survived the Trial of the Grasses in the history of the Witcher universe. That is just a fact of the universe. If she were to survive, she would need her Lady of Space and Time powers, which we saw her lose at the end of The Witcher 3. Now, I believe if she was going to be the protagonist of The Witcher 4, she would need those powers back because that's what gives her an edge. That is how she's able to compete with the monsters of the Witcher universe and the great swordsmen of the Witcher universe. That's what we should have seen. We should have seen her get her powers back and use them to fulfill the role of the Witcher. She can't ever be an actual Witcher going through the Trial of Grasses with the mutations, but she can fulfill the role of the Witcher. That was the great thing about Ciri's story is, yes, she wanted to be a Witcher in the blood of elves, but she couldn't. And so she learned through blood, sweat, and tears to improve herself to the point where she was a skilled swordswoman, and she improved her magical ability to the point where she could stand equal and toe-to-toe with Witchers. That was her story, and now we're downgrading to, oh yeah, she's just female Geralt now. Yeah, she's a Witcher now. Yeah, everything that she worked so hard for, all the impressive achievements she made, they're all wiped out because now she's a mutant. She's got super strength and whatnot. It feels like it detracts from the incredible story that we got from her in both the books and the games, and that is a disservice to the character. Ciri is absolutely my favorite Witcher character, and to see her downgraded to a shade of her former self, recognizable only by her scar, is disappointing to say the least. I hope this game is good. I hope they try at least to justify these lore breaks and these changes to Ciri's character. But as long as they're trying to remind you of Geralt, trying to get your nostalgia for Geralt, make her look as much like Geralt as possible, no one's going to be invested in this. People want Geralt at this point. The people who were surprised that Ciri is the main character and said, no, it should be Geralt, will be 100% justified if they go down this path that they're showing in this trailer, that she is just female Geralt. Now, speaking briefly about Geralt being the main character of The Witcher 4, that would absolutely not make sense. The ending of Witcher 3, any ending of The Witcher 3, ends his story so well that we can't see him continue on. His story is done. He is retired. And Ciri makes the most sense. While I very much disagree with the direction that they're taking Ciri with at this point, I agree with the decision, not the motivation, but the decision to make her the protagonist of The Witcher 4. After Geralt's retirement, that is the character that makes the most sense to continue on the franchise. Now, could they have chosen completely new characters, gone in a completely new direction? Should they have done that? Possibly, but if you were going to continue the story of The Witcher 3, Ciri was the one character that it made sense to be the protagonist of the story. Now we get a brief look at her Witcher medallion here. Just a side note, I'm not sure why this is a lynx rather than a wolf. I think it would make a lot more sense to be a wolf since she was trained by Geralt of the School of the Wolf. This might just be a way to make her different, which would be kind of generic way to make her different. It's female Geralt in every way, but her medallion is slightly different. That's a super superficial change. So we'll see what the motivations for it, why in game they say she has a Linux, if they explain it at all. Here we see her briefly taking a Witcher potion. This goes into my argument before where it doesn't make sense where she's able to take a Witcher potion. She would not be able to survive taking a Witcher potion as a normal human being. Even with the Lady in Space and Time powers, I don't know if she'd be able to survive drinking a Witcher potion. So this shot can't work in the lore of The Witcher. It just can't. This is not Ciri. This is female Geralt. That's just what I'm going to call her, FEM-GERALT. This is a shot where we get her fighting the monster. With the Lady in Space and Time powers, I 100% believe that Ciri would be able to fight this monster of unknown origins. But her being a Witcher, it does stretch credulity a little bit with her slender frame. She doesn't look muscular enough to be able to physically overpower the monster like we see later on. But here we see her casting a Witcher spell. This looks like either Quinn or a heliotrope. In the games, they kind of combine the two into the same sign. Now, her casting Witcher signs, that's been a point of discussion of whether or not Ciri would be capable of that. They'd have to retcon a little bit to make that possible. At the end of Time of Contempt, Ciri gave up her normal sorceress powers. There was the Lady of Space and Time powers, which are separate from her regular sorceress abilities that were trained by Yennefer and Triss to a certain extent during the events of Blood of Elves and Time of Contempt. So the fact that she has magic at some point in her life, absolutely true. And the fact that she'd be able to cast Witcher spells, Witcher signs with that magic, completely plausible because the Witcher signs are incredibly generic. The only reason you don't see Yennefer and Triss using Witcher signs is they look down upon those spells. So is Ciri capable at some point in her life of casting Witcher signs? Possibly. It's well within reason to believe that she could master that, but it would force them to undo the events of Time of Contempt where she gave up her abilities of magic. Now, are they saying that the Trial of the Grasses reignited those magical abilities to the point that normal Witchers have? I don't know, but it's so convoluted lore-wise that they're going to have to spend a lot of time parsing through and untangling the web that they built for themselves lore-wise, or it's just not going to make sense. Current CD Projekt Red, I doubt they put that effort into it, and it's just going to be, yeah, she's a Witcher now, ignore it, she has all the powers of Geralt. There's lore reasons? Shut up, she's a Witcher now. I fear that that's going to be the explanation rather than putting the care that they would have for The Witcher 3 to explain these changes from the lore. Now, here we have some shots of Ciri using a silver chain to defeat the monster. This is what I was talking about with her overpowering the monster with mere strength. That just strains credulity to the point where I don't believe that she could wrap a chain around a monster of this size and bring it to heal. Definitely trying to remind you of the cinematics from The Witcher 1. A lot of The Witcher 1 cinematics included him using a silver chain like this. Yet another example of using nostalgia to try and transpose your love for Geralt onto this character who is FEM-GERALT and not Ciri. The trailer ends with Ciri having defeated the monster, going back to the village and finding that the villagers have killed the woman that she saved from the sacrifice to this monster. And she gets very upset with this, saying there are no gods here, only monsters, which is a very Witcher thing to do. People can be the real monsters many times in the Witcher universe, so I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Overall, this trailer, the graphics were good, not anything extraordinary. It didn't blow me away graphic-wise. The fight choreography was good. The biggest problems, though, are with Ciri. This is FEM-GERALT, not Ciri. They want you to think about Geralt in every single shot. They don't want you to think about Ciri, and that is a problem. That is a disservice to the great character that was Ciri. Then there's the lore breaks on top of it. The story that we're seeing presented here, got no complaints with the story in and of itself. A Witcher coming to a town, seeing a situation like this, jumping in, saving the girl, fighting the monster. And Geralt, you have the choice in the games to fight the local villagers in situations like this, but Geralt in the books would not have done this. And Ciri from the books probably wouldn't have done it at this point in her life, but she's definitely more fiery and headstrong than Geralt, at least before the Trial of the Grasses. That's another thing with the Trial of the Grasses. They would have dampened her emotions to the point where she wouldn't be this fiery and angry for the entire trailer. That doesn't make sense with the Trial of the Grasses. They've downgraded Ciri to the point where her character doesn't make sense and can't fit into the universe of The Witcher. Many, many concerning things. I don't know how The Witcher 4 is going to turn out. I have small hope for it, considering the place that CD Projekt Red is at currently. I want more good Witcher content. The books are incredible. We got a new book coming out soon that I'm very much looking forward to. The video games are incredible. I want more good Witcher content, but I don't believe The Witcher 4 will give that to me. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon.